Hello and welcome back to TG13 Fantasy Football. Today we're going to break down the way too early top 10 quarterbacks for fantasy this year. And also at the very end of the video, we're going to look at the week one matchups, the big games. The schedule release is going on right now. I've been watching a couple of YouTube videos on it. Pretty crazy. We all love it. That's why you're watching this, because you're a huge football fan. I'm doing it because I'm a huge football fan. So finally, that's a good thing about the NFL. The end of the season, and then we gear up for the combine, and then after the combine, we have you have free agency in there as well, and then you have the draft, and then after the draft, you have the schedule release, and then you have training camps, and it's just 12 months out of the year, nonstop football. We all love it. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the way too early top 10 quarterbacks. There might be a couple in there that will surprise you. I didn't put Deshaun Watson in here. If he does play this year, I do believe that he is a top 10 quarterback fantasy wise. Again, the key word there is if, and I don't want anybody arguing. I don't want to talk bad about anything. So I just didn't put him in here. So yeah, you won't see him on my list. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and subscribe. My last video had a lot of views, and I know 50, 60 views. Doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, as much time as I put into this, and again, I just love to talk football, to see that many views, to have about 3 hours of views, to see the impressions on YouTube, that was really cool. So yeah, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. First up, I have Dak Prescott. The only reason I didn't put him any higher, I really wanted to. I had him originally at 8, but losing Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson, I mean, that's a lot. Your number one, some might say number 2 wide receiver in Amari Cooper, and then Cedric Wilson. He's your number 4 wide receiver, but he did good. He did pretty good last year without Michael Gallup there in the lineup. And I went ahead and put Michael Gallup as gain because he was injured, and he does bring a lot to that offense. So you look at the attempts, he was 9th in the NFL. I tried to break this down as much as I could, passing and running. Passing yards, he was 7th in the NFL last year. You look at those runs, not a whole lot of runs, ran for 146 yards, 1 touchdown. They had a great offensive line last year. The only thing is, can they do that again this year with that, with losing Collins and a couple of those guys getting older? So yeah, they went 12-5 last year. Pretty good offense, like I said, pretty good. First in the NFL, 7th in defense. Points allowed. So they weren't losing a whole lot. I know, 12-5, but Dak didn't have to throw 40, 45 times a game. He could throw some controlled passes. You see there he threw 37.25 passes per game. So he could control it a little bit. He wasn't throwing those long bombs, which leads to the interceptions. He only had 10 last year, so he's very consistent. Again, I was big on Dak last year. Losing 2 of your top 4 wide receivers, that's tough. I know they have Dalton Schultz back. I know they like to use their tight ends there. But again, that is tough. You do have Zeke. You do have Tony Pollard there. So will it be the same as last year where he can throw those controlled passes and, he's not throwing 40, 45 attempts per game. And you can see there the rushing. I mean, that really pulled him down a little bit. Only 146 rushing yards last year, 1 rushing touchdowns. In today's NFL, you have to be able to run. There's only a few players that that don't have to do that. They can put up monster numbers. So hopefully, if Dak can get running a little bit, get a couple more touchdowns, that'll boost him up. But right now, again, in this way too early quarterback, I got a fly flying around me. Quarterback rankings, I have Dak Prescott at number 10. Number 9, I have Kyler Murray. And he's one that does rush. You see there, he had 58 designed runs and 30 scrambles last year, 423 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. He does rush. The only problem is he's not the most accurate. He had 24 touchdowns last year, 10 interceptions. He had 5 rushing touchdowns, 29 total. They had an average line. They did lose Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds. Kirk's now the number 1 in Jacksonville. I think he's probably the 3 last year in Arizona. Awesome. I left Michael Gallup in this one. As you can tell, Michael Gallup is on this team, so go ahead and not look at that. But yeah, that's embarrassing. He threw 62.9% of the time last year. They did go 11-6. They were pretty average. 11th in the NFL in points scored and in points allowed. He's somebody that has a monster ceiling. I had him preseason ranked last year, I think at number 3. He does have a monster ceiling. So if it can all click, he's somebody that can put up massive numbers. He's somebody that I would definitely try to get in my fantasy football league. Even a down year is going to be better than most. I'm never going to reach for a quarterback, but he falls to a certain spot, where the running backs are gone and you're starting to get wide receiver 2s and 3s. He might be somebody that I would pick up. Number 8, Russell Wilson. It's hard to predict anything with Russell Wilson because this is new to his team. So you can't look back at last year's numbers. You do have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick as your starting wide receivers. Javonte Williams and Melvin Ingram. I don't think that's right. I think I put the wrong player down. Yeah, he's a linebacker. I definitely put the wrong player down. My bad. I was trying to hurry up and get this done before the schedules came out so I could work on the schedule. So yeah, that was my bad. But yeah, your starting tight ends, you have Alvarado, 19th rated offensive line last year. They did bring in Billy Turner there at right tackle. Not much to say about them. He does have a great offense. The defense is pretty good. You saw that they were 3rd last year in points allowed. So, maybe that's all they were missing was a quarterback. And Russell Wilson is top of the line quarterback. I mean, he has been since when he came in the league, 2012. So Russell Wilson is another player I'm looking to get. Just not knowing what the offense is going to look like, it's hard to predict them any higher as of right now. I mean, we're only in, what month are we? May. So he's definitely a top 10. Right now I have him there at number 8. Tom Brady. Love Tom Brady. Had him last year. Picked him up real late. Nobody wanted him. 43 years old last year. Nobody wants him. Let's go with somebody a lot younger. I picked him up. Why not? And I ended up trading Patrick Mahomes in the process and started Tom Brady, and I loved it. 719 attempts last year. That's massive. That's 42.3 times per game. 5,316 passing yards, 43 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Tom Brady is the GOAT. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Obviously, he's not going to run. He rushed for 81 yards, but he doesn't have to rush. He had 2 touchdowns on top of that. That's 45 touchdowns. That's 2.6 touchdowns a game. That adds up in a hurry. You're throwing the ball 42 times and you're getting 2.6 touchdowns a game. 317 yards per game is massive. Just what is that? 1 point for every 25 yards. For 12 plus the 2 touchdowns, depending on how much your touchdowns are. That's pretty much 18, 20 points a week, no matter what. They lost Alex Kappa, O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard didn't do much with them, so that's fine. Russell Gage, Ryan Jensen. So they did bring in somebody to help that offensive line. You brought in Russell Gage as a wide receiver 3. Might be somebody late that you can pick up there at wide receiver. Obviously, they threw the ball a lot, 68.7% of the time. Bucks went 13-4. They weren't losing a lot, but he definitely threw the ball a ton. Now we'll see with Arians gone what that looks like. That goes back to my Leonard Fournette thing. One of those two players is going to have a fantastic year, just like last year. I do believe Tom Brady might not throw 719 times, but he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in attempts. He's going to have his touchdowns. It's just Tom Brady. It's hard to tell him no. What are you going to do? Say, Tom, you're going to run it here? No. I'm going to audible out of that, and I'm going to do my thing. So I do have him 7. Again, with these rushing quarterbacks, it's tough because they can just run up the rankings pretty quick. No pun intended. Pun intended. So yeah, I have Tom Brady at number 7. Love Tom Brady. I wish I could rank him higher, but it's tough. Next up, and this is what I was talking about, Jalen Hurts. The rushing. Jalen Hurts is not a great quarterback, but he runs and he can get touchdowns. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last year. That really helps. So if you can get a running quarterback, which we all know it's a cheat code, he only did have 16 passing touchdowns last year, but the 10 rushing touchdowns, that's massive. I think I read that he finished like quarterback 6 or 7 last year, and he only played 15 games. So I remember that Gardner Minshew. That was awesome to watch. I think Gardner started like 18 for 18. But they did gain A.J. Brown, which is another weapon there to go with Devontae Smith. So Jalen Hurts is somebody, a lot of people, I saw on ESPN, I think today they had him like ranked 10th. I think Jalen Hurts, again, not a great quarterback, but fantasy-wise, is a really good prospect. I could see him easily finishing in the top 5. Joe Burrow. Again, Joe Burrow does not run a lot. He had 19 design runs and 21 scrambles last year. 118 total rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. But the guy has so many weapons on that offense. He doesn't have to. He can throw it to literally anybody, and they could score a touchdown. You have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, you have Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. You see there Hayden Hurst, but anybody could score a touchdown. And the really good thing is they worked on that offensive line, which we talked about in the last video. So that just gives him more time where he can get somebody open. You see there he threw 32.5 passes per game last year. That's 15th in the NFL. That's amazing. Passing yards tied for 6th. 34 touchdowns, and then you look at the 295 yards per game, 2.25 touchdowns per game. That could easily go up. Go back here, 2.6. He could definitely match that this year. So, big things out of Joe Burrow. I had to rank him in the top 5. Again, I know he doesn't run. I could see them being down more this year. They did catch lightning in a bottle last year, so he's going to have to throw. And those touchdowns numbers are going to go up. Patrick Mahomes, I have at number 4. It's Patrick Mahomes, and I really wanted to rank him 1, 2, or 3. I just couldn't. He did lose a lot, losing Tyreek Hill. That is a lot to that offense. Yes, they brought in Juju. Yes, they brought in MVS. They're not Tyreek Hill. I know Patrick Mahomes is great. We've all seen him run around outside the pocket, do a little twirl, do a little twist, throw the ball up 50 yards. Nobody seems to be there except Tyreek Hill just comes out of nowhere and catches the football and runs it for a touchdown. We've seen it time after time. I don't know if Juju can do that, and I don't think MVS can do that. They're just not going to match it. That's just tough. So I did have to bring Patrick Mahomes down a little bit for that. You do have Travis Kelce there, who's great. He is getting older, so what else does he have in the tank? At some point, he is going to start showing regression. So, again, you lose one weapon, you're older, or your other weapon is getting up there in age. Not the spring chicken he used to be. He had 37 touchdowns last year, 13 interceptions. You see there he ran for 381 yards, 2 touchdowns, and his yards per game was 307 yards. It's fantastic. Again, lost Tyreek Hill. I know a lot of Chiefs fans, and they say he'll be fine. Juju will take over Tyreek Hill, or MVS will take over Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is his own special talent. You just can't throw somebody in there and go, you're Tyreek Hill. We saw that with Byron Pringle. We saw that with McCole Hardman. No. Not going to happen. Do I expect Patrick Mahomes to have a down year? Ish, compared to what he was doing, 55 touchdowns, stuff like that. Do I think he's going to have a great year? No, I don't. And that's why I'm not ranking him in the top four, in the top three. And I know there will be some people that do draft Patrick Mahomes one. He'll probably be the second or third quarterback out of my league taken, and that's fine. I'm not going to reach for him. I do play with a bunch of Chiefs fans, so that's okay. I'm totally okay with that. If he falls down to me, that's fine. But I would rather take Tom Brady way later, or even Jalen Hurts later than drafted Patrick Mahomes. Next up, you have Lamar Jackson. You want to go back here, 307 yards per game. Lamar Jackson had 304 yards per game. Touchdowns, 2.4, 2.29. Lamar, when he was playing, was having a great year, and he only did play in 12 games, so that is tough. My main thing that I keep looking at with a lot of these quarterbacks, design runs and scrambles, he ran for 767 yards. Again, that's 304.08 yards per game, and touchdowns for 2.4. Offensive line was not very good. They did lose Sammy Watkins and Marquise Brown. They did bring in a couple guys to help that offensive line because they were rated 21st last year, and Tyler Linderbaum and Morgan Moses. I know they don't have a lot at wide receiver. They do have Mark Andrews. They have Devin Duvernay. They have Bateman. I almost got him in the Arizona wide receiver. Confused. But, Lamar Jackson doesn't make his living off throwing to the wide receivers. We've seen that time after time with Sammy Watkins and Marquise Brown. That's just not his thing. And so losing those two, I'm not really worried about it because he can run. He can get, a touchdown or two, 2 in 12 games. He's fine. He might not be the most flashy player. He might not throw it for 350 yards a game. But the guy can get you a couple touchdowns through the air, and he can run all over you. And he does play the Jaguars this year and the Texans. And, So, again, I have Lamar Jackson ranked at number 3. I know some don't. I think I saw on ESPN earlier. They had him ranked like 7th or 8th. That's fine. He's a former MVP player. He can run, and that's all I care about. Somebody that can run and score touchdowns, or even pass and score touchdowns, but you're going to get more fantasy points out of running. Next up, Justin Herbert. Wow, 672 attempts. That's 39.5 per game. Design run, scrambles, not a whole lot going on, and that's fine. He still scored 3 rushing touchdowns. So if he's not getting 500 yards, scoring some touchdowns on the run, that's fine. He had 41 total touchdowns. That's 2.4 per game, and that's something I want to see. I want to see those 2-point somethings per game. 10th rated OL or offensive line, and they did add Zion Johnson in the draft this year. He's got good wide receivers. You got a good offensive line. You got a stacked defense. This is a guy, like I was talking earlier, with Dak, he might not have to throw 39.5 attempts per game, but this is somebody that could easily score altogether 50 touchdowns. He scored 41 last year. Why not go for, I could easily see 50. So I have Justin Herbert at number 2. If he does throw it, I love it. That's perfect with me. They did throw the ball 66.8% of the time. They did go 9-8 last year. That defense is a lot better. That division's tough. There could be some massive games with the Chiefs, with the Raiders, with the Broncos, where he is throwing 40, 45 times a game. And getting those touchdowns. So I do have Justin Herbert there at number 2. And number 1, obviously, Josh Allen. If you didn't think he was going to be on this list, you're crazy. 38 passes a game last year. This is the thing, is he threw for 4,400 yards and he ran for 763. It's 304.1 yards per game. Go back here, 298.6. Go back here, 304.08, 304.1 yards per game. 6 rushing touchdowns. He had 42 total touchdowns. He had 41 total touchdowns. He had 39. I mean, that's amazing. I know as of right now, Emmanuel Sanders hasn't signed with them, but they bring in Jamison Crowder and OJ Howard. Not a whole lot there, but that's fine. It's Josh Allen. The dude can run, he can pass. He's just a way bigger body. Not as quick as Lamar Jackson, but he likes to run, and I'm totally okay with that. This would be probably the first quarterback taken in the draft in most leagues, and it should be. He was drafted really high in ours last year. So, they did go 11-6 last year. Didn't have to throw the ball a ton, but he did. He threw it at 38 times a game, but it wasn't something like where they had to do it because they were behind. This is how their offense works. You go back here, 66.8% of the time. So not too bad. About average, 61.3, 6.3, 63.4. So a little bit not as high, but up there. I have Josh Allen going number 1, Justin Herbert number 2, Lamar Jackson number 3, Patrick Mahomes number 4, Joe Burrow number 5, Jalen Hurts number 6, Tom Brady there at number 7, Russell Wilson at number 8, Kyler Murray at number 9, and Dak Prescott at number 10. These schedules were just released, and I'm not going to go through all of them because that's way too long of a video to do. But I just did a quick look at week 1. You have Bills at Rams. That'll be a really fun game to watch. It's Thursday night. That'll be fantastic to watch. You have Matt Stafford going up against Josh Allen. Defending Super Bowl champs, playing against the Bills, and that'll be a really fun game to watch. Then you have Chiefs and Cardinals. That could be a very high scoring game. Again, with the wide receivers there for the Chiefs, we'll see if they can keep up. I do think they can. And then you have the Cardinals there. Not the greatest offensive line, which we just saw. Not the best defense. So that could be a high scoring game. Maybe grab one of those Chiefs wide receivers and just see which one pops off. I mean, right there in week 1, you're playing against the Cardinals. That's perfect. Then you have the Bucs and Cowboys, and I think the Bucs will beat them, but that'll be fun. Bucs, Cowboys, 2 great offenses. We'll see with Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson gone what that offensive looks like. You don't have Collins there anymore for the Cowboys. It'll be fun to watch. Thank you for taking time out of your day to sit here and hang out with me, talk a little bit of fantasy football. I had a lot of fun. I think the main thing that popped out at me was Tom Brady. I didn't realize that he had thrown that many times. I mean, the guy's 44 years old. What did he throw? 719 times or something? 713? That's amazing. And then I think the next thing was probably Jalen Hurts, his rushing and what he could become in the NFL and in fantasy this year. Definitely somebody to keep your eye on the closer we get. So I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, please go like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Just something I'm doing just to try to see how big I can get this thing. Again, I enjoy talking football. I enjoy making videos. So why not bring those two things together? All right, everybody. Have a good rest of the night.